Hello, America. We're back uh, discussing community talk. It's been a few weeks now since I brought conversation to the issue at hand, which is the community that we live in. The United States of America. Boy, it used to be a mouthful. Now it's just, I don't know, it's turned to just a colloquial. That it is just a place. It doesn't have any real weight or any value that we can appreciate anymore. When you talk about it, it's a place somebody lives rather than the place where things originate or where things begin. We're no longer the center of the globe, but a stop off on the globe. All of this is created by the standards that we, the people of this country, maintain, or the lack of the standard that we maintain, for better expression. You know, I talked about the people that are in our community, the way we live in our community, our people. And, you know, the more I observe, and I do observe on a daily basis, the activities, the mannerisms, the way business is conducted, a number of other issues, or a number of other facets, I should call it, of how we present ourselves in our community, how we represent ourselves in our community. Our children are very lost in our society. As I said previously, our children are the future of our society, and based on what we've seen thus far, our future looks very grim, dim, and dead end. Our children are not learning the basic skills that are necessary to be prosperous. Instead, as a matter of fact, let me just go into a detail on a certain situation that occurred just today. I'm looking at, now I'm in a library. Let me set the scene. I'm in a library, and of course the library is the one place where you expect to see the best in talent, the best in progression into our future. You know, you expect to see that the majority of the people that are, and I don't say everybody, because you know everybody can use the library, and you have all facets of folk who use the library, and not everyone's going to fit the criteria that I'm about to describe. However, what I observed was a 2-year-old, maybe 3-year-old. He was dressed sort of appropriately. He had on a pair of like short jean trousers and a plaid shirt. Very nice. However, it was the personality that he projected. 3 years old now, mind you, 3 years old, and watch my description. His pants was a little baggy, where he didn't have a belt, and they continually fell from his waist to the top of his hip. And in doing whatever antics he was performing with the other kid that he was standing there with, I assume it was his brother, and they pretend to box. I compliment the way, though, that the young 3-year-old, if that, presented himself in a violent nature as to be in charge. He looked very mature in the violent nature that he exhibited. And what that said to me, what I perceived of that, was the fact that what he is learning is geared around what I saw him exhibit. And this is a 3-year-old we're talking about. There was the constant pulling at the trouser to keep him up. There was the constant posture of how he presented himself as someone who's cool, he's ready to fight, he's ready to defend. And I don't say, young people should always be defensive when it comes to defending themselves. They should be defensive in the nature of defending themselves. However, at 3 years old, I don't think we should even have that as a consideration in our thought processes. But this is what I observed. And I thought, how is it that he's 3 years old and he learns those mannerisms? I don't say that maybe the kid could articulate 1 through 100. Maybe he could read an English book. Maybe he could spell words. I didn't get to examine him, but as I observed from afar, the mannerisms, the methodology, the persona, the very presence that he exhibited to me, what I observed of him, it gives support to the inefficient way that our children are being taught. What values? It gives a distinct impression of the type of values that we in our community are teaching our young ones. And the Bible says, go teach child in the way that it should go, that it shall not depart from it. And what that means is, if you give the child the right values while they're young in life, no matter how they're exposed, no matter how they're expounded on by whatever degree, when that foundation has been built in them at that tender age, they won't stray from it. They will use it as a guide to put them on the right track. They will make good, sound decisions. They will behave in what I believe would be a proper methodology. There wouldn't be any violent nature in a child who has been taught biblically. And I think that is one of the lost traits of our community. We have lost the ability, and I'm saying this is for parents to understand, we have lost, as parents, the ability to teach our children the true values that will protect them in their futures, that will make them prosperous in the future, that will allow them to build on their character instead of be immune to a build of character. These children, I'm observing more than just the one child I saw today, but on a periodic basis, I'm seeing children, and more of our children, in this kind of condition. We need to sit back and we need to draw a conclusion that there is something that needs to be done. We have no time to be lackadaisical in teaching our young people. And I'm talking teaching properly. Um, we shouldn't allow our children to believe that whatever they see on TV uh, is is true, to the point that if you do like him, you'll get a lot of money. That is that is not quite the fact. So we need to clarify when we allow our children to observe others, whether it be in TV, real life, actors, movie stars, singers, performers, whoever that, sports figures, those are really uh, uh, highly observed individuals who have a profound effect and influence on our children. By allowing our children to not be filtered when they are expounded on or exposed to these characteristics of people who appear to be very successful, uh, uh, very flamboyant, uh, they appear to be rich, they appear to be carefree, they appear not to have any obstacles in life. Uh, that's just not the case. We must give our children good information so that our future can grow more strong and look more prosperous, become more prosperous. Not just look, appearances are deceiving, but to be more prosperous in how we come through from a child to an adult, or to adolescence, through adolescence to an adult. These things are very important. The observations that I saw and that I've seen, and over a period of time, not just what I saw today, but over a period of time leading up to this moment, by observing in my job capacity and in everyday life, just out shopping, traveling, doing business as I do business, and seeing the results of how, and in so many similar cases, our young people appear to be running wild or growing wild or very uneducated, to the point that they carry on in a certain manner that is kind of confusing. Because, and you look at the different age groups, and you see the similarity through all the age groups, and the parents have sort of been laxed in how they have allowed for the influences that I spoke of earlier to influence their babies. While no matter what you do, children will be exposed to all sorts of influences, and they will come up with their own ideas as to how to move forward through whatever influence that they're dealing with. But what you're there to do is to make sure that when they are confronted with these influences, that you have given them the right information to deal with the influence, so that when they do make a decision without your input or without your knowledge, it will be a right decision for them, and they have some understanding that that is the right decision that they've made. There's so much that goes on. The community is broken up by the diversity, the different groups that are in the community, versus when we had like groups and communities, and you didn't have as much diversity. Hence, there wasn't so much of a foreign, and I don't mean this country-wise, but things that were not familiar in the community at the time of sort of a non-diverse community. But because we've become so diverse, there are all kinds of heritages and all kinds of influences. And to not say that one group has a negative influence on another group, but it is the idea that parents are not filtering the influences on our children. Hence, our community falls apart because there's no guidance. There's no allowance for the mistakes that could occur. We're not pre-screening information. A lot of the times we're allowing others, teachers, outside resources, who we claim are professionals, who we believe are professionals. But you got to understand that not everyone that is you're exposing your children to have your child's interest at heart. A lot of people are professional, however, they're professional on their level, meaning they have their own agenda as to why they are called professional. It may have nothing to do with how they're going to teach your child. It may just very well be that they have a title and they are more interested in making sure that their title is unsoiled, that they impress the right individual. But your child will go lax because they do not have that child or any of the children in their care. They don't have their interest at heart. I'm seeing this in my observations on a daily basis. I have 9 grandchildren in my marriage, and every day I tell my children that I love them. I sit and talk with them one-on-one every opportunity I get, and I explain to them about the do's and don'ts, the why-fors, the things that causes bad conditions. And we're talking youngsters, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, and 10. 11, 16. I mean, and of course I got a less than 2-year-old, but the ones that are age to talk understand it's a constant thing. It's a constant teaching. It is not something you do this week and forget about. It's an every week. It's an every day. It's an every hour. And we have gotten away from that. Our community is losing the battle with our future because we're not teaching our children. And in our communities, we're losing the battle of business because we're not paying attention to our community as a whole. The community at large has been so widely spread out and divided that anyone can sneak into it and set up business in it. And sometimes, you have a convenience of a business set up, but you also have a bad influence by that same business. And I think people have gotten to the complacency point where the convenience is outweighing the influence. But that can never be. We can never allow convenience to be more important than influence in our community. We cannot allow a business that does not contribute to our community, and we've talked about this before. You cannot allow a business that does not contribute to the community that it is located in, that it is thriving on, making money, not putting money back into that community. We are diverse, and we are certainly free to do what we will. But we are practical. We must be practical. We need to stop and think about the fact that our children are going to be in need of someone to do the things that are needed to help them be future. We can't just let them grow like wild weeds in a garden. We cannot be selfish and think only of ourselves as adults and not know that we're leaving our children behind because we're being selfish. I work every day. It is a job and a half, let me just express. It is quite a job for a woman who has 4 children, no husband, no boyfriend, who is serious about caring for her 4 children, and they are in an age group where the oldest is maybe a teenager, let's say 16, and then down. And there are all kinds of outside influences. What is she to do? She has to go to work every day. It's summer. She has no one to watch them. She leaves a 16-year-old in charge. 16-year-olds are not responsible. They make bad decisions, and hence their influence is going to influence their decisions are going to influence the younger siblings. So what you have is a volatile situation where now these children are exposed to those very elements that I talked about that lead to the demise of a family, that leads to the miseducation of children, that leads to the problematic problems that can and will come about because of these situations. Why did I mention that? Well, in the past, we've had communities that will assist a woman in this situation. They will not take advantage of her children because she's not present. But what they would do would be support that woman and her children while she's not present. And so the care of the child doesn't go with neglect. They don't neglect the children. The care of the child doesn't go undetected. The care of the child, the love of the child, is continued through the community effort that cares about what happens to children. It doesn't have to be your child to care and love it. These are the values that we've lost as a community. Certainly the black community, as you know. My commentaries are always about the black community, how we live. I often look at when I travel through our communities, and I do this often, and on purpose. This is not by chance. I look at certain communities and I look at how we continually present ourselves in our communities. And as you know, I really appall the idea that a black man wearing his pants sagging, as they call swagging, is not impressive to me. It is indeed a most regurgitating condition to me. I feel that our young men have certainly missed the mark. The improper disrespect that imposes on a unsuspecting public is the most damaging thing to a young black man that has ever come about. Slavery is nothing compared to the fact that a young black man believes that wearing his pants below his buttock to show his underwear is a presentable condition. The young people have no idea what that does to the community in a whole, at large in a whole. The view is not just in the community. The view is worldwide. The one thing that black people have always had was the type of strong unity. And now what has happened is sort of a joker has been slipped into the deck of that unity. And while we weren't looking, we were sitting with our eyes closed. Here we are, the black community, we're sitting with our eyes closed. Someone sneaked up and said, hey, this is a good idea. And when we opened our eyes, we saw this. And one of us, not the opposition, but one of us opened our eyes and said, oh, that's cool. And once it was said, it's cool, it caught on. And our children today, they still have not got it. It is a detriment. It disassembles the unity that has been so long enjoyed in our community. But black young men don't understand this. They don't understand that that mannerism is something that someone sneaked in on them to create a separation, a division. It divides us, whether we know it or not. Not every black man wears his pants in a swag, but the ones that are doing it are always labeled. And while we think, oh, it's just fashion, but the label that you're wearing, you are labeled a dope dealer, a dope fiend, a robber, a crook, untrustworthy, unhireable, undesirable, uneducated. The swag says all of these things. But somehow our young people, especially young black men, have come to the conclusion that it's cool. Somehow someone convinced them that if you show your underwear, it shows that you got manhood. Manhood is the ability to educate yourself, to be strong in appearance, and to be respectful to all others, and to have the ability to support. That's manhood. Has nothing to do with the swag of your pants. It has nothing to do with the ability to say four little words in an atmosphere whereby you think you're generating fear. But what it does is it causes disrespect, and it creates a sorrow in the entire community. Young black men, I am definitely talking to all young black men. If you're 30 years old to, I would say, 12 years old, this is directed at you. What you have done is demoralize your community. You have demoralized your race. It benefits you nothing to wear your clothing in this manner. It is not fashionable, and it's totally disrespectful. It is hard to get through to our brothers and sisters, and again, I've seen women do the same thing. I don't exclude women, but I talk about the men because the head of any family should be a man, but the very definition of man doesn't carry the traits that I just described. So it is kind of elusive to say I'm talking to men who wear their pants below their buttock. It takes a man to pull his pants up to his waistline. Somehow, you men from 30 to 12 years old have lost that understanding as to what truly makes a man. And somehow, someone has put it in your mind that what you are doing is man stuff. Be advised that over this whole United States, if every man in the age group that I just mentioned put a belt on, pull your pants up tomorrow, the country would change. As easily as someone told someone else, and they believe, wearing your pants in swag is cool. And you see the influence that it had when they said it. The same way that swag became, and men thought that they were being respected. The reverse of that is, if you pull your pants up and put a belt on, this country would change overnight, because there are those who would realize, oh wow, they got smart overnight. If you think that I'm mistaken, anyone seeing this video that believe that they wear their pants in swag and that is the way it is and it should be, let's experiment. All of you listening to my voice right now, let's do the experiment. Pull your pants up. Everyone in the country, let's call it Pull Your Pants Up Day. We can swear it out as a national holiday. Pull Your Pants Up Day. And see what happens to the other side of the coin in reference to swag. The environment in this entire country, and you could have a profound effect on the world, but the environment in this entire country would change overnight. We're not dope fiends. We're not murderers and killers. We become those things because people say we are. When we wear hoods on our head, people call us gangsters. Trayvon Martin case in point. He had a hoodie on, so he had to be a gangster. Well, I have a hood up in my closet. When it rains or when the weather's cool, I wear it. I'm nowhere near being a gangster. The idea is, when someone suggests something, it seems and appears that black people are more susceptible to suggestion than most other groups. This is a cycle of idiom that we need to abolish. Again, I liken it to slavery. Being that you're black and you wear a swag pant, you become a slave. It's like putting yourself in shackles. And for the love of me, God knows, I can't figure out why we are so susceptible and why we're vulnerable to such idioms. This is an idiotic thing. It makes no sense. It is totally disrespectful. You're supposed to be a man. Black brothers, you're men. Men don't do what you are doing. And I'm talking again, that age group, 12-30. You guys are supposed to be our future. unless you change, we don't have a future, because you're playing into the hands of those who created this idiom. Now, I sit here and I speak. You don't have to believe me, but I tell you the truth. There's nothing cool, and when I say cool, there's nothing that makes you more of what you are, or better than what you are, or more impressive to any individual or any group or any one person. There's nothing about what you are doing, and I'm talking about the swag. There's nothing about what you're doing that is impressive. What you're doing is taking away from your respect. Your integrity is being belittled. You are taking away from your value. You're a black man. A black man who has diminished his own value because you have listened to a lie. Now, I know that there are going to be people who are going to hear this tape and they're going to start turning it off because they don't want to hear the truth. But I'm telling you, my brothers and my sisters, this is the truth. We have an election coming up in November 2014. In this election, we are going to be electing governors, representatives, and senators throughout the United States. For the last 12 years, we've enjoyed a Republican-run government. I know everyone's been affected by what we are calling the economy. And if you've ever looked for a job, or if you worked, you know that it's hard to find a good job, and or if you have a job, it's hard to get a raise, or it's hard to get a good salary. I talked about spending in my last commentary, spending money in our community. And let me see if I can draw you a picture here. If you've got 12 businesses in a community, I don't know why I took the number 12, the number of the apostles, so we're going to take it to the book. If you've got 12 businesses, and all of those businesses support the community that they're in, there can be no economic shutdown, because you, whatever money you bring into the community goes into the businesses, and they share it back in, I don't know, coupons, gifts, bonuses, the way that it should be distributed back into the community, paying extra taxes in parks, making donations to organizations that support that community. These are the values that we possess that we are not using. These are the resources that we possess that we're not using. These things have value. The community must support itself. We cannot allow people to come in, take money out, and then leave and go elsewhere and distribute that fund that they have taken from the community. We need to start placing value on businesses in our communities. We need to stop hurting the businesses in our communities. The breaking in, the theft. How can we ever overcome, as Dr. King said, if we continually allow for division to come into the ranks? and divide us. The division is the new slavery that has indoctrinated our community. That is the swag, the idea that we are law breakers, the idea that we are felons and so therefore we don't have rights. All of these are lies that have been perpetrated by opposition. When I say opposition, it is anyone who perpetuate these ideals. Black men, it's time to get on board with some realism in our lives. We are not slaves anymore. We must stop living as slaves. We have potential, we have value. We need to live up to the integrity that Dr. King and those who fought in earlier days for the right to even vote, for the right to drink water from a fountain that someone of a different color drank from, the right to ride on a conveyance in any position that you choose comfortably without harassment, the right to live in any part of a city that you choose without harassment. I've seen things in the appearance of our community that really appalled me. I live in a majority black community, and I tell you, I'm kind of unhappy with the fact that where I live, there's so much unrest, there's so much non-peace. There's crime, there's drugs, there's prostitution, and it seems that the atmosphere is filled with tension of hate or disparity. No one seems to be happy. And why is that? Is it my fault that I don't understand? Or why is it that I feel that people are not happy in their condition? And I'm talking about when you look out and you see, I've observed guys in their cars that drive down the road and in our community now, and let's say they had a takeout dinner or something, McDonald's, whatever, one of those restaurants, and they had a takeout. And in our community, we just roll the window down and we throw the garbage right alongside the street. We do that. We tend to do that. When you don't want someone to harass you or to be non-receptible to you, when you move into their community, I think you'd have to give credence to the fact that if you're one of those people who litters or throw things at the convenience of just not having it in your hand in the community that you live in, it seems to me that that's just a kind of disrespect for your own backyard. You live there and you do that. Well, how do you say when you go to a community that doesn't do that, and you have a group in a community that doesn't do that, and they reject you because you do that? You cannot see anything wrong with that. You cannot see something wrong with a community rejecting someone who does that. And this is what I'm seeing in our community. We're so lackadaisical on cleanliness of our own community. We don't police our own area. And policing, I mean, We don't clean up behind ourselves. We just trash, 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 and we don't do anything to clean, clean, clean. And eventually, you have so much of it. And trust me, folks, when I ride through certain neighborhoods and certain cities, I observe this and I look at the attentiveness of different communities in that regard. And be honest, folks, you drive by certain communities, you see the differences. My wife pointed out to me once, as we were driving through certain communities to get to a place from A to B, and we're driving through certain communities to get to where we were going, and we would go through certain communities, and my wife says, "This is a black community." And I say, "How can you tell something like that?" And then I started to notice. And sure enough, when you reach any place that was majority black community, you had litter all around the streets. You had litter, you could see it, litter all around the streets. And the majority of the places where white people lived or other groups lived, you didn't see that. I was like, son of a gun, she's right. So I made it a point to drive around the county and just different cities throughout the county and looking at the groups. And throughout the county, in every city where black people lived, I saw the same behavior. It brings me to tears at times when I see how careless we are for our own backyard. We care less about how we appear to the rest of the world. We are the greatest people on the planet. Yet, we have no value when it comes to integrity and self-respect, the respect of others. Those characteristics, they have no part in our lives in this community. Young men, we're relying on you. You have to pull your bootstraps up, pull your pants up, put on a belt, and let's get that integrity that is needed to pull our community back together. Now, I'm going to continue talking about the government and what we need this November 2nd, I believe, or November 4th, I'm not sure now, is the day we vote. Next time I come back, I'll have that date precisely. We have to vote. We need to get... Now, let me just digress here. There are people that are bad, and then there are people that are worse. So I think what we need to do is concentrate on getting the worst people out of the government. And if it should, we should have to choose, we can take a bad person, but the worst persons are already there. So if you change, you may get a bad one, but you certainly are not going to get anything worse than what we have now. Young people, all America, we need to get out and vote this November, send a message to the Republican Party that their way of governing the people of this country has come to an end. We need to put in place some people, and I would not say just vote Democrat, but we need to vote for people who have interest of the people at heart. I don't care if they're Democrat, Independent, right off, right in, Republican. If they have the people's interest at heart, we need to put them in office so that we can get this country jump-started into a positive direction again. Just electing Obama was not enough. We need to get some people in there that's going to agree with this man to get some things that needs to be done for this country so we can get this country jump-started and stop making rich people rich and make poor people able. I'd love to be rich, but I'm not out to be rich. What I want is a fair opportunity. And I can tell you, since 1971, when I became an adult in this country, it has not been fair, and it is now 2014. We have an opportunity here, people. Let's make this a year to send a message to the government of the United States. We need to re-elect people. Get those old war horses out of the White House and out of the government, and put some fresh minds in that are going to bring this country up to the standard of living that we're so used to. And we ourselves need to up our game. And young men, 12 to 30, I think that you need to revisit the idea of how you value yourself and how you respect yourself and how others respect you. And pull your pants up. This thing is very dear to me. I believe that we need to pull our pants up. We need to have a national pull our pants up day. And I can guarantee you, you will see a difference in treatment of you, and you will see a different respect for yourself, and you will see a behavior in the opposition that you've never encountered before. It is true that I speak. And while we have all sorts of obstacles that we have to overcome, this is one that you can move yourself. Let's do it, America. Let's do it, young men, young black Americans. This is Community Talk. Be well, everyone. Till next time.